hit the
Recording in
record
progress.
timer. Hi folks, thanks for streaming. This episode of Yumio to Ohanashi features the author of a fantasy trilogy, Dream Tamer Chronicles, and her latest work is called Snacks for the Soul. The book about 100 friendly reminders for personal growth. Elena Carter from Bulgaria. Yes, Bulgaria. Thanks for joining here, Elena. So can you briefly introduce yourself?
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank
Such an honor. My name is Elena Carter, and I currently live in Varna, Bulgaria. Originally, I am from Kazakhstan,
Oh, really?
from Kazakhstan, but I moved here about 11 years ago. So, yeah.
I see.
I started writing about 4 years ago.
Oh, I see.
Although it has been my dream my whole life. I've always wanted to write books, but I don't know, just life kept getting in the way, I guess. And 4 years ago, when I had my second son, my youngest son, and he was just a baby, just several months old, I decided to finally give it a try. It coincided with the
That's great.
COVID lockdown, so basically I was sitting at home with a little baby.
I see.
Yeah,
Yes, that's great. We
had
always
the story idea, and I'll give it a try. And that's how it all started.
Yeah, we're gonna challenge everything. Okay, thank you very much, Elena. So, first of all, can you share your latest accomplishment or your temporary goal?
My latest accomplishment is this year. I published a couple months ago. I published this book.
Oh, I see. Oh,
It's
yes,
Snacks
you
for
were
the
promoting
Soul.
that one. Yes.
I usually write fantasy. I have a fantasy trilogy out, but this was truly a passion project. It was an idea of mine. I made a series of 100 videos with friendly reminders on my social media channel.
I see. Yes, because
And then I decided to put them all together into a short and encouraging, motivating book for everyone.
Yes, because I was reading your Twitter and I noticed that you're promoting this book. And what kind of book is that? And that's why I thought it's interesting for me to have an interview with you and try to kind of promote it. That is good. That is good. Thank you. And can you briefly describe your work, such as stories and characters, the plot, or the topics and so on?
Well, my debut novel was called Follow the Hummingbird. It's book one of the Dream Tamer Chronicles. It's a fantasy trilogy that follows three different main characters, female main characters, who discover that they can travel to different worlds through their dreams. They're overcoming different things in their life. Mostly, they're coping with grief and loss. Yeah, and while they're coping with that, they discover that they can go to different worlds and maybe even alternate realities in their dreams. So it's a bit of a different fantasy, fantasy / magical realism, portal fantasy, something like that.
I see. So
kind of a cross genre.
Is it based on your travel experience? Because it seems like you've traveled from one country to another.
Oh yeah, well, I've traveled a lot. I've changed a lot of my life. But, I know. I think it was mostly inspired by the fact that I've always had very vivid dreams, and I've always found them very interesting. And I've always had this feeling that dreams are more than what we think they are. Just dreams, just a tired brain, conjuring up pictures in your mind when you sleep. So yeah, I just was inspired to explore what it could be if we could actually travel and go different places in our dreams.
I see. Okay, thank you very much. And how about when did you discover the joy of writing?
2020, so about 4 years ago.
Pandemic.
Well, this is when I actually started writing. I mean, I wanted to write my whole life, and I've been trying to write since middle school, I guess. I tried poetry, I tried writing something, fan fiction and stuff like that. And then I just stopped for many years. But I was always an avid reader, and I was always interested in writing, and I wanted to give it a try. I guess I just didn't have enough courage. But when I actually sat down and I made like a rough outline of my first book, and then I just wrote the first chapter, and that was it. I was hooked. I felt like that I'm finally doing what I was always supposed to be doing. It brought me so much joy. And Well, since then I've published what 4 books already.
Wow, it's already 4 years in four books and 4 years. That is great because it's kind of a coincidence because I also found the joy of writing when we hit the pandemic. Because pandemic we have to be creative, and then I started writing stories and characters in English, not in Japanese, and that's kind of a coincidence. So, what was your very first story that you completed in the past, and do you think you can publicly share it as a snippet?
The first story, the completed story, I think, was my debut novel,
Uh-huh.
Follow the Hummingbird.
Uh-huh.
I think I've shared a lot on social media. I don't have
Uh-huh.
anything like right now the second. But yeah, even as I was writing it, I already joined the writing community on Instagram and Twitter. And even though my book wasn't published, I was like, sharing little snippets and, publishing little teasers of like, maybe pieces of dialogue or something like that.
Yes, because I do the same, and I try to see how many kind of comments or likes I get, and whether that's gonna be the dividing line for me to kill it or leave it. So now, including everything, published or not, how many stories have you completed?
I have published 3 novels, 2 short stories, one nonfiction book. I have a short script written, and I have a collection of short stories in the works. So I think it's halfway through. I think I have about 10 or 12 stories in it
Wow.
already. So that makes a lot, but it's going to be a collection. It's going to be one book. So I don't count them, individually.
Ah,
I
I
just
see, I
want
see,
to
I see.
this year I'm planning to finally finish this collection and publish it.
I see. So, do you kind of plan to attend on those anthologies of the other publishers?
Anthologies.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I participated in one anthology
Mm-hmm.
2 or 3 years ago. That
Mm-hmm.
was a lot of fun.
Ah, yes, yes.
And that story that was part of that anthology that released around Halloween time. But later, after 3 months, we got our rights back and we got our stories back.
Oh.
So I decided to just publish it as a standalone short story. So I have that one published. But I'm very excited that I will be participating in another anthology that will be released next year. I can't share
Next year.
many
I
details yet
see.
because everything is in progress, but it's super exciting because you get
It is.
to work with a team of other authors,
Exactly.
and everybody brings in something of their own, and it's mind-blowing. It's a great experience, and I highly
Yes.
recommend it.
Yes, it's always fresh to hear those other people's voices. How about which genre do you think you're good at?
I think I'm best at fantasy. But
Fantasy.
I also want to write more nonfiction, and I'm writing some poetry now.
Oh.
And there will be a collection of poems coming out also sometime this year.
So does your story involve magic, swords and magics, or kind of a fantasy, but doesn't involve magic?
Not magic as such, not the magic that we're used to, no, at least not my fantasy trilogy. My short stories have witches and magic
Ah,
and,
ah.
spells and things like that. The Dream Tamer Chronicles is different. It's, let's say, a different kind of magic because uh, if you imagine that in your dreams you can end up in a different world, and then
Yes,
you
yes, yes.
wake up with physical proof of actually being somewhere. Yeah, it's pretty magical. Yeah,
Exactly.
but you're not using anything. You're not using any amulets or spells or incantations or anything like that. So
Incantations.
let's say it's a different side of magic.
I
That's how
see.
I
I
put it.
see. Thank you. And when is your best time to write? Because right now Bulgaria is at nighttime, right? Isn't it?
8 o'clock in the evening.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, I have a 4-year-old, so any time is best time when I have time. So basically, I only have some periods of time for writing during his naps in the
Uh-huh,
afternoon.
uh-huh, uh-huh.
And now he's starting some daycare in the morning, so I also
Mm.
try to use that time for work. But before that, because I'm a stay-at-home mom and I'm just with him 24/7.
I see.
So anytime I can sneak in a little bit here and there. Like my first book, most of it was written on my phone at night.
Oh, ho,
I
ho,
was
ho,
just
ho, ho,
typing on
ho,
my
ho.
phone because, well,
Oh.
he was 6 months back then,
Mm.
so I was like with a baby all the time, and all I could do is like, while I'm nursing, I
Oh.
just type on my phone, so Most of the book
Wow.
was written.
That's a modern technology, and I'm sure you're a very
Yeah.
strong mother. I think so.
Oh, yeah.
And how about what is your writing advice?
Writing advice for beginning writers. The main advice is just start. You have to
Exactly.
start.
Yes, we
You know,
have to start.
you have to take that first step. Yeah. And you'll hear a lot of rules and then other rules and
Yes,
then
yes, yes.
opposing rules. Just start.
Yes.
You know, you won't learn and you won't perfect your craft and you won't find your voice until you get that writing in. You need to start and feel it, you know, just feel
Yes,
how it
we need
goes,
the
how it
beat and the
flows, and
groove.
then
And
you can learn where you can change things, where you can add things, delete things. But well, you can't edit a blank page, right? You
exactly,
just have to
exactly.
get something written first.
And that goes to the next question. Are you a pantser, plotter, or prancer?
I'm a planter.
Uh-huh.
I'm somewhere in between. You know, I don't have a detailed outline. I'm actually kind of curious to try it once, but I'm not sure I can handle that because I start with a very rough outline of I know this is the general idea, this is the character. I know that she's probably going to go through this and end up somewhere here. But how she'll get there, I have no idea. You know, then the characters they just kind of go off on their own, and then new characters appear. I've had that happen. Like they weren't even planned, but they just kind of were like, "Hey, write me, and I want to be here." So yeah, somewhere in between, I would say.
I see. Yes, because we all have a different type of rule. That's why we need to get our voices out first, and we try to do the trial and error and see what taste or color matches me the most. And that's why we should listen to other people's advice, but we should not constrain to other people's strict rules, such as you do this, you do that. And that's kind of the good
Absolutely.
advice from you, I see. Okay, Elena, so we've got the rest of the minutes, so let's wrap up. Any message to those watching this interview?
Again, for the beginning writers, I think my advice would be follow your dreams. Do not be afraid.
No,
It's
no,
not
don't afraid.
easy. It's gonna be a lot of ups and downs, but just do that. You know, take that first step and don't quit.
Yes, I think the many writers experience life's up and down, so that's why we kind of know what the life struggle is. But we also know that when we can try to move on and advance and be brave and have the first step to go. Okay, so finally, what is the most encouraging phrase that you recite when you want to pump up your motivation or crawl out from rock bottom?
I think that one of my favorite writing quotes is one by Richard Bach that says, "A professional writer is an amateur who didn't quit."
Ah, ha, 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 ha,
And
ha,
I remind
ha,
myself
ha,
of
ha,
that
ha,
a
ha.
lot.
Yes, that is kind of enlightening because we all start from amateur, but those amateurs who don't quit eventually become pro. Oh, that is very interesting. That
Absolutely.
is very
Yeah.
interesting. Thank you so much for sharing that, Erna. Okay, so thank you very much, Erna. So her latest book is called Snacks for the Soul. It's 100 nice ways to improve your life. So folks, if you're interested in Erna, please pick her works and yes, works, not just one. Follow her account at ELENA underscore CARTER underscore again. So truly appreciate your participation in this segment, Erna. So wish you great success and we'll keep in touch.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.